Hello, students. Welcome back. Today, we're going to continue working with Autodesk Inventor. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and double click on the icon here. Notice that mine says Autodesk Inventor Professional. You can download that version if you don't have it. I know you can also download just Autodesk Inventor. If you can download this one, that would be better. At least 2021 or 2022. Either one would be fine. Okay, so we started working with extrusions last week. We're going to do one more extrusion today, and then I'm going to teach you how to do revolve. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go to File, and we're going to select New, and we're going to select English. We're going to make a part file. So that's what IPT stands for, Inventor Part File. Click on this and come down here and click on Create. Okay, so this is what our screen should look like. We have to make a sketch first before we can make a solid model. So up here, go to Sketch and select Start 2D Sketch. And now, again, you can select whatever plane you want to start your sketch in. For some reason, Mr. Morris always likes to select the XY plane, but you can select any of these, and then you can orient your geometry later based on your preference. So I'm going to click on the XY plane. And today I'm going to make a flange for like a pipe. And so we know that it's round. A flange is a round component, right? And we're going to do this two ways. The first way we're going to do it, we're going to use extrusion. And then the second time we do it, we're going to use the revolve feature. All right, so let's do the extrusion one first. Select circle and select circle center point and come over here to the origin, and we're going to click right there at the origin. See a green dot appears, click, and then drag out your mouse. Now, we're going to type in, let's say we want it to be a 5-inch diameter flange. Type in a 5 and then enter. And then do a right click, select OK. Now, Mr. Morris, I can't see my geometry. Well, you just rotate your scroll wheel on your mouse until you see it, right? And then you can hold down the scroll wheel and pan about. All right, so now what I want you to do is we want to finish the sketch. So go up here to finish the sketch. And again, you can't see it, so zoom out with the scroll wheel. All right. Now we want to go to extrude. And notice this arrow is the direction of the extrusion. Well, I don't want to go in this direction. I want to go in the opposite direction. And I don't quite want it, well, I guess 1 inch is fine. We'll leave it at 1 inch thickness. Okay, select OK. All right, so now we have part of our pipe flange, or at least the base of it, done. All right, so now we're going to go to Start 2D Sketch. Start 2D Sketch. And we're going to click on this face right here. All right. Now I'm going to go up here to my view cube because I like to work with this. Remember to play with this some so you can get practice, maneuvering your views. Okay. If you click on these corners, of course, that's always going to be the isometric, right? And then you click on these faces, that's the front view. And then you click on these arrows, that's the right, the back, the left, front, same thing here. Okay. You can also turn it. It's not going to make much difference here because it's going to be hard to tell since it's a circle that you're even turning it. But I'm going to get back into the front isometric here. And I'm going to go to circle center point, and I'm going to go to the origin. I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag it out and make it 2.25. And we're going to do a right click, select OK. So we need to give this some depth now. So we're going to finish the sketch, and we're going to extrude this. And I'm going to go ahead this time and go in this direction. Let's make it maybe 1.5. 1.5 looks pretty good. I'm making these numbers up in my head as we go, so I don't have a drawing to look at here. Select OK. All right, so that's the general shape of the flange. Then we're going to put a hole through the center here of the flange. So go to Start 2D Sketch, Start 2D Sketch. We're going to click on this face right here. All right, I'm going to get back in the isometric view. You don't have to. You can draw in that view if you want to. This is just my preference. Go to circle center point, and we're going to drag out a diameter of 1. Right click, OK. So let's say you went ahead and did that and you wanted to change that. So that's not what I wanted it to be. Of course, you can always undo it here. You can click on this and undo it, right? This is redo. But let's say you just want to make a change to the dimension. So just double click on the dimension here. And we'll make this 1.5. And it should automatically update. All right, so finish the sketch and go to extrude. Click on this face. Sometimes it will automatically do it for you. It will select the profile. Sometimes it may not, so you have to be careful. Now we're going to we're going to flip it because we'll make a hole. Now, here are some things I want to show you. If you want to go all the way through the part, just select. You don't necessarily have to worry about the distance. You could, if you know the exact distance from here to here, you could enter that here. But let's say you don't, and you want to go through the entire part. Just select this, and it goes all the way through, right here, through all. Okay, now select OK, and this is what you have. Okay, now we're going to do some more work to this. This is our pipe flange shaping up here. All right, so let's. We have to have with a pipe flange, you have to have a hole pattern, a bolt hole circle, so that you can connect the pipe flange to your pipes or to another flange. All right, so we're going to go to Sketch, Start 2D Sketch, and we're going to click right here on this face. All right. Now I'm going to get my isometric view. All right. Now, how many holes do we want? I'm going to select 6 holes. So what I'm going to do, sorry, my allergies are acting up today. I'm going to select circle center point, and I'm coming right here on this line. Okay, you see now it's not turning green, but it knows it's there on that line. Okay. Right here on the y-axis, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag out a circle, and let's make it 0.75. That sounds like a good number. Right click, OK. All right, now, we need to know how far out we want this hole to be from the center. So let's go to the dimension tool here, and click on this, or the origin, and click on the center of the circle, and that's an odd number, right? So I'm going to double click on this, and maybe we'll change it to 1.75. Let's see what that looks like. A nice nominal number. Select the green check mark, and I think that looks rather nice right there. All right. So I'm going to get isometric, finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude this hole. I'm going to go the opposite direction, and that popped all the way through, right? That popped all the way through here. Try that again. Sorry about that. Finish sketch, extrude. All right. So let's see if we have a hole. And we do. Now let's say you wanted to move that hole. You've already got it placed and you want to move it a little bit more. All you have to do, look here folks, is go over here to the browser, expand this, see where it says sketch, right click on that and go to edit sketch. And let's say we want to make it 1.8. Double click on the dimension and change it. All right. So see how that dimension changed? It moved the the hole. Finish the sketch. All right, now we want to make a circular pattern with this hole. Now, up here on the menu bar, you have this icon right here called circular pattern. Okay, so click on circular pattern. Now this window comes up. All right, it wants us to select a feature. See, it's already in blue here. It wants to select a feature. Well, the feature I'm going to select is going to be this hole right here. So it wants me to select a feature. I'm going to select this hole. All right, now come down and click on this arrow to define the rotation axis. Click on this arrow here. All right, then come over here and touch off any of the circumferences here. I'm going to click on this one, and I want you to notice something. We have 6 holes. Now, Mr. Morris, what about if I only want 4 holes? Well, you can come over here and change the number of holes. I said we were going to do 6, but I think we're going to do 4 for right now. Select OK. All right. So we're almost done with our flange. All right, but we have to put, a chamfer here, and we're going to put a rounded edge here. So a chamfered edge is a beveled edge, and Mr. Morris, what's the point of a chamfer? To just basically reduce sharp edges. As you design things, when you become a designer, you want to eliminate sharp corners and sharp edges every time you have the opportunity, because it prevents a safety hazard for someone who's going to be handling the part. So click on chamfer right here. See where it says chamfer? Click on that, and we're going to click on this little edge right here. And notice my distance is 0.125, which is 1/8. That's a nice distance, but I think I'm going to change it to let's see what 0.0625 looks like. Yeah, I think that's good. We're just trying to eliminate the sharp edge. Select OK. Now we can also put an internal fillet right here, or not fillet, excuse me, a round chamfer. So Morris got to get his act together here. We're going to put a chamfer on the internal circle here as well. So go to chamfer, and we're going to click on this edge, and there we go. All right. So we're going to add one more feature to our flange here. We want to have a rounded edge here. So we're going to go to fillet, and we want this edge to be our rounded edge. And I actually think that looks pretty good, but we could change it to a quarter, 0.25. I think that's too much. So we're going to put it back to 0.125. Select OK. All right. So here is our flange. Now we need to add some material designation to this. Over here on the browser, let's go ahead and save this. File, save as, and we're going to call this flange-1. Actually call it flange-2 because this is going to be your second homework assignment. So select save. Okay, now we've got it saved, but we want to add material to this or designate a material. Come over here to your browser and right click on this file name and go to iProperties. And come over here where it says physical, and we are going to select, let's see, what should we make it? You know, Mr. Morris likes to use gold all the time, but let's see, if we click on steel mild, apply, that looks pretty nice. Select close. All right, so there is our flange. Let's save it since we've added the material to it. Now we need to make a drawing of this, okay? And the way you go about doing this, go to File, New. Make sure you're still in English. You can't mix apples and oranges here, so make sure you're English. You don't want to choose metric. And we're going to come down here to where it says ANSI IDW. Now this is American National Standards Institute, and the IDW stands for Inventor Drawing. Okay, select this one and create. Okay, this is a size D sheet of paper. I'll show you. It says size D. I'm zooming in. So I don't want that size sheet because your printer at home is probably 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So come up here and right click where it says sheet 1 and edit the sheet. We're going to change it to a size A. And we want it to be portrait. And select OK. All right, so now we want to bring in our flange. So go to Base, and it's going to automatically bring in the last part that you designed. Okay, so you can flip this around just like if you were just as if you were going to make a model of this. Now you're making your drawing, but you can still maneuver the views like this. Okay, so I think that's actually a pretty good scale. It's 1/2 scale. I'm going to select OK. All right. So I'm just going to hold down my left mouse. But once you move your mouse near the view, you see this red rectangle appear. Hold your left mouse button down. You can drag it. This is going to be my top view. Okay. Now, if I project it, this would be my front view. This would be. Now, if we want to put the right side view over here, we can come back over here and come up at a come up with the 1 o'clock position, click with your left mouse button, right click, create. Now, notice that this view looks like this one. So we don't really have to add this view here. So what I'm going to do is this. I want you to come back here, hover near the view, do a right click. We're going to delete that view. It says you want to delete it, say OK. All right. Now, I'm going to move this over a little and move this over. I'm also going to delete this view here. And I'll show you why. So do a right click and delete the view, select OK. Now, the reason I did that for is because I want to show you a new type of tool here. And it's called section views. So what we need to do is we've worked with this icon and this one. We're going to come back to this one a little later, but section. Do a section view. So click on this. Now be very careful with this one. I'm going to zoom in here with my mouse. And notice the red rectangle appears. Click. Now watch how I'm going to do this. Watch very carefully. I'm going to move my mouse to the center of my part. I'm not going to click. I'm not going to click yet. And I'm going to move it across the center until I'm off at the part, at the 9 o'clock position. Okay? See, I'm off the part. Make sure you come off the part. I'm going to click with my left mouse button, and I'm going to come across the part like this, like I'm taking a knife and going to cut it in half. Kind of about right here. Click again with the left mouse button, and then do a right click and continue. And I'm going to zoom out with my mouse as I drag this down. So, Mr. Morris, what are you doing here? I'm making what they call a section view. It shows me the internal details of my flange. It shows the center hole, and it shows the bolt holes. Okay? All right. So now that we got this like this, what I want to do is I'm going to go back to and annotate this whole. There's some things that are missing that Mr. Morris is going to have heartburn over if you don't include it. Go to annotate, and we want to add the center marks for the holes. But the one I want you to use is this one because it's a circular pattern. So click on this and click on this first hole, and then this one. Sorry. Undo that. Try this again. Mr. Morris messed up. Click here on centered patterns. Click on this circle here, and then click on these individual holes. Do a right click, create. Now what that does, it creates a center line for your bolt hole circle. This is the circle that contains your bolt holes. Okay? And this was the, let me do it again in case you missed it. Click on this pattern, centered pattern, then click on this circle because you have to define the center of your pattern, and then come around and click on these individual holes like this. Now be careful, do a right click, create, okay? Now, we have to come down here and add our center marks for this view. Now for this one, we're going to use what they call the bisector, centerline bisector. Click on this, and then click on this line, and this line, this line, and this line, and this line, and this line. Okay, right click. Now you don't have to create here, you can just hit the cancel. All right, now What I want to do now is put my labels in here. Actually, no, let's save the labels. We want to dimension this. Okay, we want to dimension this. Now, I'm going to get rid of this label. Don't panic. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to delete this label. Just double click on it and just highlight it, hit the delete. Select OK. Okay. Now, let's go and dimension this. Go to the dimension tool, and I'm going to start my outermost circle here. Click on that, drag the dimension, place it about right there. Click, and just select OK. Now, I want to balance out. I don't want to put all my dimensions in one place. I don't want to do this. I don't want to put a dimension like this. It starts to clutter the drawing. You want to kind of balance it out a little bit. So place it about right here. Now, I clicked, and I'm going to type in bolt hole circle here. BHC. That stands for bolt hole circle. All right. Now we've got 2 more diameters we're concerned about. I'm not worried about this one because that's the chamfer. So click on this one. And then select OK. And click on the outer. See, I clicked the outermost circle here because that's the chamfer, remember? Same thing here. Click on the outermost circle. Select OK. All right. Actually, I'm going to undo that. I want the innermost circle because that's the diameter of the hole. There we go. I said, Mr. Morris, why did you do that? Because I'm going to show the chamfer down here. Okay, and also the rounded edge here. So if you go up here to where it says chamfer, if you click there, come down here and you click on this. Watch carefully. I clicked on chamfer, click on this edge, and click on this little, and look what it's going to do. It's going to hit the escape. It should have created it's really odd that it's doing that. There we go. Show you again. I go to chamfer. It says down here in the lower left-hand corner, select the chamfer edge. Then it says select a reference edge. So we're going to pull this out with you can zoom out with your scroll wheel as you're doing this. Click right here. All right, now I'm going to edit this because do a right click, okay. I'm going to edit this, so double click on it. I'm going to take out the word chamfer because it's obvious what that is. Select OK. Got to hit the delete button first to delete the word chamfer. Select OK. All right. Now, we also have a rounded edge here. But now that I'm thinking about it, I would like to move this. So we're going to delete this. All right. And I'm going to place, sometimes you do that while you're putting your dimensions. So, well, that dimension is going to get in the way of another dimension later on. And it would have. So I'm going to chamfer, click on this edge, and then a reference edge. Don't worry about it going off because I'm going to get rid of the word chamfer. Click. Right click, OK, double click on this. highlight chamfer, hit the delete button, select OK. Okay, so that's the chamfer. And that takes care of this edge here, because that's telling you the chamfer size, which is a 16th. Okay? Now, we also need to define the size of these holes here. I didn't do that earlier, so let's go and do that. If you click on hole and thread and click here, it's 3/4 of an inch in diameter all the way through. I'm going to click, right click, OK. Now I'm going to double click on this because I want to add the fact that it's 4 times. So I'm going to hit the enter button. See, I was right here, right? It's like using Word here. Hit enter and type in 4x, right? Because that's the number of holes we have. It's 4. Okay. We have another chamfer here. And this is an internal chamfer because it's inside, right? That was the whole purpose of this is called a cutting plane line. We're going to talk more about this later, but it's actually cutting the view completely in half. And the arrows are pointing in the direction, your line of sight. So in other words, if you put the arrow on top of your head, the arrow is pointing in the direction that you're looking at. This is the top view, so what you would see would be this here. This is what you would see. You would do an imaginary cut, if you will. This is an imaginary cut. All right, so now we need to come in here and place some vertical dimensions. Place one here. Here, that's 1 inch. Okay, select OK. One here and one here. Try to keep your dimensions properly spaced. So in other words, uniform spacing. You don't want this. See how far your first dimension is from the object line, and then see how close this is. You don't want this. Hold down your left mouse button and just move your mouse while you're pressing it down, and you should be able to relocate that. All right, let's see if we have all of our dimensions, okay? So we have, this is the outside diameter for the overall diameter for the flange. And then we have the bolt hole circle, which is 3.60. Okay, that is this diameter here. And then we have the diameter of the hole, 3/4. And we have 4 of them. That's why we have 4x, 4 times. And then we have the internal diameter of the hole right here. And then we have the diameter of the hub. That's this diameter here. And the other lines you see are the chamfers. So that's the chamfer right there. Okay, and then there's a chamfer right here. We should probably add another chamfer dimension here. So go to chamfer, click on this line and this line. I like to keep the angle about the same as this one here. So I'm going to come up here and do this. Right click, OK. I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to get rid of the word chamfer. Select OK. Now, you can still, once you set OK, if you want to reposition this, just move your mouse until you see the little green dots appear. Hold down your left mouse button, and you can drag it around. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to move this. See how the box appears when I move my mouse near the geometry? I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and drag it down a little bit like this. Okay? Because I want to place my view labels here. So go to text and make sure you put the view underneath this view. Put the view label rather. Make sure you put the view label underneath the view. I'm going to click right here. Okay, and make sure they're all capital letters. This is the top view. And this is just like working with Word now. Hold down your left mouse button and highlight that word, make it bold, underline it, select OK. Do a right click, OK. Now, this right here is the front view, but actually it's called section AA. So we're going to right click and copy this and come down here, do a right click and paste. We're going to paste that same label here and then also right here. Right click, cancel. Let's edit these. So double click on them, and we're going to change this to section view A-A. Now you want to center this. This does not look good. You want to move it back a little bit like this. Hold down your left mouse button, just drag it over. Okay, we know this is not the top view either. We're going to double click on this and we're going to edit this. That's the ISO view, and again, I might want to center that. Now earlier we didn't turn on the shade, so what you want to do is hover near the view until you get your rectangle, do a right click, and we're going to edit the view, and you come over here to the style, we want to shade it. Right here is the shade button to color it in, select OK. So there is this is our drawing. Now we have to fill out our title block here, okay? So let's do a file save first so we don't lose everything that we've done up to this point. And notice it has the IDW extension, save. All right. Now, we have to fill out this title block. This is not acceptable here. We need to fill this out properly. The way you do it, you come over here to the browser, and you're going to do a right click, go to iProperties, and go to Summary first. And the title of this is Flange. We could call it Pipe Flange. And the subject is CAD 241. And the author, all capital letters, is Morris. The manager is Morris. And the company is Thomas Nelson Community College. All right, so everything underneath this line, if you type in something for the category, you can call this classwork. Or homework or whatever. You can put some notes here, learning how to model a flange. You're going to see that this is not going to come out. Everything below this line is not going to come out in your title block. Go to project here. This is fine. That's the part number. And designer is you. Okay, so type your last name. Engineer is you. Type your last name. And authority is me, Mr. Morris. All right, because if you were making this in the real world, you're not going to get approval to make it until somebody high up signs off on it. So that's the authority. So if you were going to make this, you can't make it until you have a signature here. Go to status, work in progress, checked by. Checked by should be you. And then click on the date. And the engineer approved by me, Mr. Morris. Click on this. and manufactured approved by Mr. Morris. Click on this date. Okay. There's some other things you can fill out, but for our class, this is sufficient here. There's nothing to fill out with custom, so you just go to apply, close, and you can see everything is filled out properly here, drawn by Mr. Morris. This would have your name, checked by you, and then my names would be down here, along with today's date. This is the title of the part. This is the name of the company, in this case, Thomas Nelson Community College, and this is the file name here. So whatever you name your file or your part, this is the name of it. Okay. So let's do a file save here. Now you can print this out at home. If you wanted to print this out on your printer at home, you would go to File, and down here you would go to Print. Now sometimes you have to play around with this a little bit. It says you want to print the current sheet and do a best fit, right? And do a preview. Well, I want you to notice something. When I did that, look at this margin here. It's not uniform. This is a thick margin here. This is a thin margin. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to close that out. So how do you fix that, Mr. Morris? Go to File, go to Print. Sorry, I see File, Print, current sheet. Now, go ahead and leave best fit here, but do a rotate by 90. Sometimes you have to play with this rotate by 90 degrees if your margins do not look correct. You can do a preview. Now look how nice the margin looks now. Okay, so we're going to print. I'm not going to actually print this. I'm going to leave it as is, but you can print it off at home if you want to. I'm going to cancel. Now, how do you submit this? You need to submit it as a PDF. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Export, PDF, and it's going to be called flange -2.pdf save. Now, if I want to go look at that file, there's my flange. So this is your second homework assignment. I'm going to show you one other thing. There's two parts to this one. I'll have another video for you sometime this week, but this is to get you started for this week. Let me close this out. Close this out. Now I want to show you one other thing here. I'm not going to do all of this. I'm going to show you how you could use revolve feature to make a flange as well. I'm not going to have you make a drawing like this. I'm just going to show you how you could make a flange using the revolve feature. Okay, so I'm going to file and close this out. By the way, if you want to submit your PNG file here, you can go File, Save As. Oh, actually, excuse me, Export. You want to go to Export, you want to go to Image, and you want to come down here and you want to select the PNG file, and this will be called Flange 2 PNG Save. So you can have a nice picture of you can submit this to me as well. So make sure you submit both, the drawing and the picture. All right. So now what I want to do is go File, and I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to start a new file here. Okay. So File, and go New, Make sure English is selected, standard IPT, and create. Okay. Start 2D sketch, start 2D sketch, and I'm going to click on the XY plane. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw half of my flange that we drew earlier. Just half of it. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. Before I do that, though, I need to show you something else. Go to line, and we're going to draw a line of arbitrary length. Arbitrary length here on the x-axis. See, it doesn't matter how long it is, just as long as you have a line there. There's my line. Let me do that again so you can see. Go to line, click at the origin. You see a little green dot. I'm going to drag it over this way. Do a left click, right click. Okay. If I hover with my mouse, you'll see that I have a line. Now, I'm going to draw a sketch. Now watch carefully. I'm going to come back and add a lot of the dimensions later. Okay, I want to close this up. So I want to extend. Right click, okay. You see what I just did? I'm going to undo that. I extended this line to this point here. And I'm going to delete this line and show you again how I was able to stop exactly where I needed to stop. Go line, click on this endpoint. Now watch. See how it automatically picks up that point there? Click, right click. Okay, now don't continue over here because that wouldn't work. Okay, you have to do exactly what I'm showing you here. We want to go to extend and click on this line. Do a right click. Okay. Now, if you recall, our shaft, or not shaft, but our flange that we were doing, I think it had a 5-inch diameter. It's okay if these dimensions are a little bit different. I'll click on this. That's not 1 inch, obviously. That's going to be half, so that's going to be 2.5. All right, so you got to zoom out some. All right, now, if you remember, the inside diameter was 1. Well, let's just make it 1. It might have been 1.25. I don't remember the exact numbers, but this is, you got to put half of the diameter there. Okay. Now, we know that this was 1 inch, I recall. It's not going to be the exact same dimensions because I didn't print it out. Hang on just a second. Okay, that's 1. So we have 1/2 inch, 2.5 inches, and this is 1. All right. I think we added maybe 2 inches more here. I don't remember the exact number, but we'll figure it out here in just a second. We'll make this 2. All right. So it's okay. It doesn't have to be the exact dimensions, but you could make it the exact dimensions. That would be fine. I'm going to finish the sketch here. I'm going to zoom in some. All right. Go to revolve. This is a new command that we're learning today, revolve. And notice when I hit revolve, it highlights my sketch here. Now, what axis do I want to revolve about this axis right here, and select OK. I'm going to do that again. Watch. Go revolve. See how the area automatically highlights? Click on the axis. That's what it's asking you for here, the axis of rotation. Click here and select OK. One more time. Select revolve. It knows this is the geometry. This is a closed profile. Select the axis, this one, select OK. Now I don't want you to do anything. I want you to watch me just for a minute, play with this in different ways. I can revolve this about any axis. Now watch carefully. Don't do this, just watch. Go to revolve, and if I want to revolve about this axis, see what happens? See that? All right, now watch. I'm going to undo that. Now I'm going to revolve about that axis. Undo that. I'm going to revolve about this axis. Okay, see how neat that is? Well, for this class, our purpose, we're going to revolve about this axis. So please use these exact dimensions, even though they're not exactly the same as the other one that we did earlier. And we're going to revolve this, select this center line, select OK. All right, now we could, go back in here and add our chamfers and fillets and so forth. We can add a little chamfer there of 0.0625. And we can also add a fillet here. I think we left it at 0.125. Okay. And then you can put the holes in here as well. You don't have to. We've already put the holes in there in the other one. But now we should probably save this. File, save as, flange -3. Save. Okay. Now I add some material to this. Right click over here on the browser on the file name. Go to iProperties and go to Physical. And we're going to give it a material. I like the mild steel. That looked pretty good. Apply. Close. Now, here's what I want you to do. Go to Annotate. We're going to do something different. And I've never shown my students how to do this. But if you wanted just to make an isometric drawing, you just want to put a few dimensions on it, go to Dimension and actually it's kind of odd that it's doing that. I'll show you how I can fix that in just a minute. That's the diameter of that one. And let's put a couple of diameters in here. Diameter of this one. Remember, you can just hold down your left mouse button and you can position this however you want to. If you want to dimension on your 3D model itself. Usually you don't do this. Usually you do it the other way, like I just showed you. Okay, so that's the overall diameter. Let's see, if we want to dimension, if you want to give the thickness here, click on this surface, and you drag out your dimension this way. Click on the check mark here. Okay. All right, so that's the thickness there. If you want to give the thickness from here to here, all right, click on the check mark. All right, one more thing. So I'm not worried that you show all these dimensions here, but sometimes there's a need for a drawing like this. You know, even in your textbook, they give you drawings like this. They give you isometrics, and they want you to develop the orthographic drawing from the isometric. You should put your name on this. Just a couple more things here. Go to General Note, and then click somewhere on the screen, and you're going to type in your name and CAD 241, and this will be flange -3. And this is homework -2. Okay. And it puts your name and the name of the class, the name of the file, and so forth over here. You can also file and export this as a PDF. Let's go and look at that here for a second. So there's your file. I just wanted you to practice this as well, okay? So this completes today's lecture. Now, I understand that many of y'all are probably still trying to download the software, which is fine. Mr. Morris has not given you any hard, strict deadlines. Please reach out to me if you're having trouble with anything. The other thing I wanted to ask you is some of y'all said your job requires you to learn Creo. Well, we are going to learn Creo in this class. The way I've got it structured now, it's like we're going to do 4 weeks of Inventor, and then we're going to do 5 weeks of Fusion 360. So that puts us at 9 weeks, and then we're going to do 7 weeks of Creo. Some of y'all may need to see some Creo stuff early on because your job requires it. If you let me know that, I can share some of my videos with you of some of the things I've done in Creo. The geometry will start getting more complex as we move along in the class. So be prepared for that. We're just learning the different commands right now, but we also will learn how to build a simple assembly. Some of you have already had Inventor CAD 211, so this is easy peasy for you right now, right? But that's okay because we're going to learn Inventor, and we're going to learn Fusion 360 and Creo. So you're going to get exposure to 3 different software packages, okay? Now for homework. You're going to have to do this part here, okay? And let me show you the other one we did. And we're going to do this one here as well. So you need to turn in the PNG file, the picture file of this, but also I want you to bring up or submit the PDF of the drawing. So you need to submit this. You need to submit this, and you need to submit the. Okay, you submit this not as an IDW. See, that says IDW. I do not want this. I want the PDF of this. Make sure you submit the PDF of this. Of this one here, make sure you submit the PNG. Okay, of this, and then the other one is one we just did, right? There you go. And you can do a file, like we said, file, export as a PDF. Okay? It's going to overwrite my previous one. That's okay. All right. So there's 3 things you want to turn in, right? So make sure you contact me if you're having trouble. Okay? I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to actually seeing you in person at some point. I'm thinking about having some sessions where we can meet together in way of Zoom and talk about some things. Hang in there. Make sure you get your software downloaded. Make sure you completed the first 2 homework assignments. One of them was the extra credit, getting to know you, and also the bracket that we did last class. Make sure you get the bracket done, okay, and submit it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.